Hopper. I don't even sound like that. You grumpy grandpa.
Welcome back to the third dimension. I'm Cruz.
Why'd you shake your head like that? Welcome back to the third dimension.
Yeah, how about you do the intro?
I'm Cruz and I'm Bill. What's your name?
Laurel Flanagan the third.
Well, I'm Emperor Laurel Flanagan Sr. And you're J.R.R. Barefoot.
That's right. No, you're Max.
Am I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And today, here we are.
That's right.
This is
Episode
us.
14.
You keep track?
Yeah. I am
Wow.
actually. Yeah, 14.
Wow.
Yep, this is us. This is this.
So I got a question for you because I don't know the answer to this one.
Mm-hmm. You don't know the answer to a lot of things. So.
Nobody knows the answers to a lot of things.
Okay.
So like I was saying, do you dream a lot?
You know,
No, I don't, because if I knew, I wouldn't have asked you.
no, I feel like I do. I don't remember a lot of them. It's inconsistent with the ones that I remember.
So
the ones that I remember are like the most real. Like I don't remember like weird ones.
I remember.
I only
dreams.
remember like the vivid dreams that I have.
But do you feel like you dream a lot?
What is a lot?
Like, at least every other night.
I would say so, yeah.
Do you dream basically every
Well,
night?
what does it depend on? Does it depend on the amount of sleep you get, like REM?
Well, usually dreams happen in REM sleep.
A rapid eye movement.
Yeah, usually that's when they happen. And here's the thing that's weird, because
yeah,
I feel
but
like
isn't
it's time.
Isn't that correlated to like? Isn't that correlated to deep sleep, like sleeping well?
REM sleep is regenerative sleep.
Yeah, I know. So sleeping well. Like if you don't sleep well, you're not gonna have dreams.
And sometimes.
Okay. Well, because yeah, I mean, whenever I sleep well, again, those are the dreams that I usually remember, like the very vivid ones.
It's weird because in dreams, I could have a dream that feels like it's going on for hours. Like,
and then some are like 5 minutes.
Well, no, it's like I feel like I've just gone through this whole adventure, this whole like storyline that my brain has come up with, and then I wake up and it's been like 30 minutes, and I just sort of look at the clock and I'm like, what? And usually that happens early, like in the morning after I've already woken up and I go back to sleep.
You know what's been happening to me recently?
No.
Is I'll go to bed at like 8 or 9 because that's usually when I go to bed. Well, let's just call it 9 because that's actually when I fall asleep. And then I get up at like 12 because my dog wakes me up. And like, you know when you wake up like 4 hours after you fell asleep, but you feel like it's the time that you're supposed to wake up, so like 6 a.m., and you're like very well rested. And this is more like to the people that go to school or like have jobs. Not that I don't, but like, you know when you wake up and you're like, oh, it's time to go to work, and then you look at the clock and it's 12, and you're like, I get to sleep for 6 more hours. There's no better feeling. And that's where I want to end that. Yeah. No, but no, Alfie, my dog's been waking me up a lot because he just has to go for a little midnight tinkle.
You know, we could start a band called the Midnight
Tinkle. I was thinking about that.
That'd be good.
What kind of genre?
Death metal.
That'd be interesting. Yeah, okay.
You know, like
I actually hate that genre so much.
Oh, I do too, but I think that it's ironic. It's called
the Midnight Twinkle.
The Midnight Tinkle.
Oh yeah, sorry, I already
Midnight
forgot.
Twinkle is something else. I don't recommend. I don't recommend that.
I don't know what the Midnight Twinkle is, but Midnight Tinkle, that'd be interesting. Or really just any band name for that matter. Yeah. My godfather, Johnny Brilliant Collins, he said if you ever were to make a band again, it'd be called the Retarded Retirees.
You told me that.
I did, but they don't know, so I figured I'd put that out there.
Oh, there you are.
And if you get offended by that...
I don't think anyone's going to get offended by that.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. But, so, do you have any dreams that you would reoccur for you? Like, you would have this...
That I would reoccur for myself?
Yeah, it would reoccur you.
I don't know what that means.
Do you have any dreams that would reoccur for yourself?
Weaker?
Reoccur.
Okay. I'm going to get you a dictionary for Christmas. Huh. You know, I do dream a lot about tornadoes.
What happens in them?
Every single time I'm like in a car, and then it's like where it's coming towards us because it's not going left or right, and you know it's coming towards you because it's not like you don't see it changing. You know, whatever.
You just feel it.
Yeah, and we usually end up like driving into like a really big ditch or like under a bridge. You know that scene in Superman where like got up under the bridge?
No.
The Man of Steel. And well, that's what you're supposed to do anyway. And usually I get to a safe place.
Yep.
And then I wake up as soon as it's like, boom.
Right about to
like
hit you?
Yeah.
Does it happen a lot?
No, this has happened like 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
Over the 19 years of my life on Earth.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I used to have something similar, but it wasn't tornadoes.
Isn't that crazy? Sorry, you can keep going.
Okay. So I used to have a dream where I was on this beautiful cliff. It was like beautiful flowy grass.
Asgard?
On top. No, but the ocean was to my right. It was like a cliff. So the cliff is
Scotland.
parallel. No, because it was like beautiful, sunny, like
heaven.
No, because I don't. Just listen. So this beautiful green grass, flowy, soft, and it's this cliff. And if you look to the right, there's the ocean over here, and then there's beach chairs that are like the multicolored beach chairs that are like, it's all fun and loving and everything. And I start running towards the cliff, and then I jump, and I feel my stomach drop over and over and over until I wake up, and right before I hit the ground. And I have actually died in my dream before.
Wow. That's insane. I've never died, but when you're like...
And actually, I'll tell you the story of what happened.
Oh, and can I say what I'm going to say?
Please do.
And I do want to hear your story, because I think you've told me about this, but you never actually explained it. Have you ever been in a dream, and you're near a body of water, and you feel like you're drowning, and you wake up, and you're, like, freaking choking on, like, yourself?
I was holding my breath.
I hate that song. Also, really weird note, some people... this is very rare. Some people can predict the future through their dreams. There was a gentleman that had a dream about 9/11, and he went to like LaGuardia Airport, and he was like, he kept telling the people, like, whatever who was working there, he's like, hey, there's 2 planes that are gonna hit the Twin Towers. Like literally, he said on September 11th, and like they were like, okay, this guy's obviously on drugs or something. And then like 20 days later, the exact same thing happened, and they vetted him for it because they remember vividly like him being very distressed about like.
Well. There's also...
Like, I don't know, again, that's not credible, but...
Well, what I was going to say is, if you look at, like, Carl Jung's stuff, he had dreams about World War II.
Yeah, yep.
And so it's like a collective unconscious type thing that's going on where you sort of feel the ripples of...
The whipple?
The whipple is throughout time.
Yeah.
So, mowage.
Yeah, that's good. Mowage.
But for me, when I died in my dream, it was really weird, because Jesus was there.
Wow.
And
wow, that's wow. What do you look like?
I don't remember.
Was there not a look? It was just like a presence.
No, he was there.
Yeah, but
I don't remember his face.
Oh.
And
wow.
I died, and it was like slow motion when I died. And I remember falling to the ground. It was like everything just got really slow, and I was like, and I hit the ground. I was like, in my mind, I was like, I can't. Like I was registering that it was a dream, but also I was like, but I can't die in a dream.
Yeah.
And then I died. And I was like, I don't know what to do now because like.
Yeah, I've never gotten.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It was really weird. I've never felt like that before. But
when did that happen?
Oh, this was years ago.
Like what? How old were you?
16.
Oh,
maybe?
okay. Oh,
17.
okay. A while ago.
16 or 17.
So like what? 8 years? 7 years?
Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was weird. But a lot of my dreams also were like, I've had a couple of dreams where I was flying too. And those were my favorite. And they were lucid dreams too. So I could control it. And I was flying everywhere, and it was pretty cool. You ever had a flying dream?
I want you to keep talking about the one where you died, because you just like kind of grazed over it. Like when I hear Jesus was there, I want you to talk about it. So you died. It was slow motion when you were hitting the ground. And then, like, was there anything leading up to you falling? Or is it just, like, you became unconscious in your dream, and then you were falling? Like, falling over. Not just, like...
Well, it was weird. So, he had said something that, and this, you will understand what I'm saying, because this will make sense from everything else I've told you about my life.
Mm-hmm.
He said something that I didn't think fit within how I thought he would say things,
Mm-hmm.
or what I thought he would say.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if he said this, then that can't be him. And that, like, shattered my mind and my heart, and I died because of it. That's what happened in the dream. I died because
of what he said.
Because of what he said. Because it didn't. I was like, if he said this, that means that he can't be who he said he is, and therefore everything is a lie.
Mm.
And that
Has this happened in real life before?
Well,
in a sense,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember this feeling of like everything just slowed down, and I was like, it felt like this horrible like falling, sinking feeling, but it was also like, I don't know what to do because now there's no orienting principle for me. Because now it's like my brain just sort of froze, and I fell in slow motion. I could feel myself falling, and as I was falling, I was outside of my body, so I must have died in the midst of falling. And I was standing there like, it was sort of like when everyone's in a rush, right? Everyone's like running around and screaming and everything, and like, but imagine they can't see you and they can't hear you, and you're just there, and you're like
you're kind of standing in like the chaos.
Yeah, and you're just like, you don't know what to do, and you know, like you're calm because that chaos is no longer like a part of your life.
Yeah.
But it's weird because you're like, you don't know what to do because you're now in a whole different place.
Yeah.
Whole different dimension of stuff. And at the time it was a weird dream for me because I was like, huh, that was a horrible dream.
Mm-hmm. That was it though? That was the entirety of the dream?
Well, I remember that there was something more, but I couldn't see it yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, I was exhausted in the dream at that point too. So I sort of just was like, all right, well, I don't know what to do. So then I woke up and didn't understand it, and I think I understand that more now.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was interesting to me.
Hmm.
That was interesting.
As a follow-up, do you think that, like I was explaining earlier, do you think things that happen in your dreams are from a higher being?
I think they can be.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that one in particular, like, was real? Like it wasn't a dream?
I think that there are things that happen sometimes that we don't understand in the moment when they're happening.
Mm-hmm.
But after a while, after we've been through things, we look back and then we understand what they meant.
Yeah.
And
so that's what that dream was to you, at least?
I think if I, at that point in my life, if I was more open and more understanding, and if I had learned to let go, I think I may have been able to understand it.
Mm.
So I think it wasn't a warning as much as like a heads up.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to suck for a little bit.
Like, sorry. Your death or you letting go of stuff?
The death was symbolic.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe, maybe, who knows? Maybe more of it will make sense later on. I don't know.
Sure.
But I think that it was a heads up for me that the way that I had seen things, as polarized, as intense as I did, it wasn't that they were inherently wrong, but it was that I was focusing on certain things too much, so that I was missing, and actually I was taking away from a bigger picture that allowed things to be more colorful. And I learned that the hard way. And so I think that was interesting. I do know people that had dreams, and there were things that were
like parallels between the two.
I know about people who, there was a man, and a good friend of mine, Steve, who you know about. We used to meet up and talk a lot, multiple times a week.
Yeah.
Me and Andrew and Dale and just a lot of us. And these are all people that I know that were a part of my church. And there was a man who had cancer, stage 4.
That was Steve?
No, Steve went to see him along with
Okay.
several other people, Dale and I think Andrew was there, or Dale was there, and a couple other guys,
Mm-hmm.
and they prayed for him. And
Was he a Christian at the time?
Who?
The man that had cancer.
I think so, yes.
Okay.
When the guy went in for his checkup, I believe the next day, he had no cancer.
Wow.
And they couldn't explain it, and they didn't know how, they didn't know why, but he was cancer-free. And before that, he had stage 4.
Yeah, pretty much like irreversible. Like
He was terminal.
Yeah.
He was terminal. So I've heard a lot of these. I've heard a lot of stories, and I know the people that these things have happened to.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the world is much stranger than we think it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that we try and put those things in boxes and try and measure them and try and understand them. But I think there are some things that are better as a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the way God's nature is, I think it's bigger than what we can fit in our head. And I think that we try to fit it into our head as some form of like Gnostic superiority.
Yeah.
Where it's like, I know the truth. I know who he actually is. But he's bigger than that.
It's actually a really good Bible verse. I forget. Do you know what Romans 9:28 is?
Mm-hmm. Why don't you say it?
Well, I don't know all of it. That's why I asked you if you knew what it was, because I saw it today, and it's like,
why did it speak to you?
It was talking about free will,
Mhm.
right? That's it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Romans 9:28. Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I literally saw it on, I think it was Instagram or something. And if I'm not mistaken, it was a comment in a Christopher Bumstead video. I don't know if you know about him. He's like the 6-time Mr. Olympia bodybuilder guy. I think that was the context around it. But as man, what did it say? It was like, what is it again?
Well, I want it to be on your version.
You have your phone though.
I'll read it from the message because that's the version that you've got.
Yeah, well, it had something to do with like free will isn't what I want to do, but what I ought to. And then, yeah, it was Romans 9:28. That's all I remember. I do want to get to the point though. I think everybody should, want to just memorize those things. That'd be real cool, man. Cliff Connectley. Give him a verse and he'll like know exactly what it is. That's pretty neat.
You sure it was 9:28?
I think so. It was wrong. I'm pretty sure. Well, that's why I asked you. It was more of a confirmation.
I thought it was. Let's see.
Something about free will in Romans. How about you look that up? Something will probably pop up. But anyways, I don't know. I thought it was a really cool quote.
9:19 through 23.
That's right. Yeah. Well, I'm dyslexic, so.
It's talking about predestination or free will.
Yeah, but there is a line.
Fault and free will. So.
Yeah, let me look at it though, because I want to see if that's the right one. It's something that it literally says. The first line is free will is not what I want to do, but what I ought to, and then after that, I forgot it blanks. But anyways, I think it's applicable to everybody's life. I mean,
14.
So is the Bible.
So why did it speak to you?
Well, I think like you were talking about, putting a lot of things that humans don't understand in a box, because not that we're scared of it, but we choose not to understand.
Mm-hmm.
So it goes back to that free will thing. And me and Max are fans of Good Mythical Morning, and we listen to Ear Biscuits a lot. And there's this one episode where Rhett was talking about his what's it called? Something. It's called.
Say it again. Sorry.
Sorry, when Rhett was like, deconstructing. He was talking about.
Yes.
Rhett was talking about his religious deconstruction, and he used a really cool analogy. That if you visualize a house, that is, in a sense, like the house is God in this context. And
Well, the house would have been Christianity.
well, yeah, sorry, Christianity. And obviously, if you go into a house, there's many different rooms, and each room signified a different part of the church. So, like Orthodox, Methodist, Catholic, just like really any of those. And what he was saying for the longest time is that the house wasn't made by God; it was made by humans. And so he was talking about, again, like a mental deconstruction of said house. So he was kind of deconstructing Christianity as an entirety, not just like what did he grow up as? Orthodox? That's
he
like
grew
North
up
Carolina.
as a Southern Baptist.
Okay, so Southern Baptist. So again, like he wasn't focusing on that specific part of the church. It was just kind of Christianity in an entirety. And I think that kind of resonates with what you were saying, because there are a lot of things that we as humans like to put into perspective, but again, that perspective is that of what our brains can comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like if you kind of like let go and you're like, well, I mean, obviously, like, we're sitting in a super beautiful place.
So it was
right
talking
now,
about
and it's
free
like-
will, right?
Yeah. What was the quote though? It said something like, "Free will is not something." Did you read it?
I couldn't find what you're talking about. It
Oh,
talks about
okay.
free will and predestination.
Yeah.
But that's more about God's sovereignty and how that.
Well, I really want to find it.
Okay, well, tell me what you remember about the verse.
That's literally all I remember was
Free will, something, something.
yeah. We can't. It said free will is not a choice, but what I ought to do. Just look that up. Free will is what? Oh, it's free will is not what I want to do, but what I ought to do. Just type that in, and it'll probably pop up with the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But no, I was just, I feel like there's just a lot of reflecting points throughout, anybody's day.
Yeah, the only thing that sounds vaguely like that, and you might be quoting from the Message,
maybe, I don't know.
is because it sounded like that, but that's not what you were really saying. It's what Paul talks about, which he says, "But if I do what I don't want to do, I am not really the one doing wrong. It is sin living in me that does it. I have discovered this principle of life, that when I want to do what is right, I inevitably do what is wrong." That's what he says.
Kinda. It was something else. I'll look it up and put it in freaking
Okay.
post. But
Well, it's probably reading from the Message.
yeah.
It's a different version.
But yeah, man, that's kind of what I was talking about. Like, in my opinion, and I know you share this, we were created in the image of God. God gave us free will, so we have the choice to do with that free will what we want. But what that message was saying is we don't like free will is not what I want to do, but what I ought to. So since I was made in the image of God, I
don't think that's
out,
free will. That's responsibility.
Well, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. But again,
sometimes not.
I'm talking about, I kind of use Rhett's analogy as like, I don't even know what the subject was anymore. I just really
You're talking
like
about
that quote.
Deconstruction, his deconstruction.
Yeah, but before that, you were talking about. Oh, we were talking about dreams in your dream. Yeah, just do what you want.
That's wow. Good landing.
Yeah, a real good takeaway.
No, I think free will. Free will.
I just came up with that quote, man. I just thought of it. I was like, no, that quote came into mind, and I couldn't remember it, and that's when we got off on this weird tangent of like what that meant to me. But like, it doesn't matter what it means to me because it means what it means.
And what does it mean?
To do the will of the Father, not the will of your opinionated self.
Mm-hmm. So, do you know what Paul talks about as far as like?
He talks about a lot of stuff.
He does. So he says.
Got to be a little more specific there.
So there's vivid imagery about being a slave to sin.
Mm-hmm.
You're a slave to your desires. You're a slave to
the
world.
That's a marathon runner's quote too.
They stole it.
The African guy. No, he said, if you're not disciplined, you are a slave to your goals. I'm also gonna put that in post because I have terrible memorization.
This is different because this is about nature. So within human nature, what Paul's talking about is your human nature is sinful. Therefore, you are a slave to it. There is nothing you can do. No matter how much discipline you might have, you are a slave to it.
Yeah.
And the only one that can set you free from that is Jesus. So there's an inverse thing that happens, right? So be not a slave to sin, but become a slave to righteousness.
Mm-hmm.
So the free will that we have is more or less a choice of, okay, do I choose to do what I want to do just because I want to do it,
Mm-hmm.
or do I choose to do the thing that is best for me in the long term?
Yeah, even
So
though I don't want to do it in that moment.
Right.
That also
'Cause-
kind of sums up discipline.
Well, it sums up love because love is a choice.
Mhm.
A lot of people think love is a feeling, and it's not.
Yeah.
It's a choice, a daily choice that even when you don't feel like it, even when you don't want to,
Mm-hmm.
you make a choice to love that person, even
Mhm.
if you feel like maybe they don't deserve it.
Yeah.
Um,
I came up with a really stupid quote the other day.
okay.
Love like dogs. Tell me what you think that means.
Well, so here's the thing, right? So a dog will, if you beat it, it'll keep coming up to you.
Well, of course.
Sometimes it's like,
Well, I mean, if
It's-
you do a little too much, it's probably like I want a new person to.
right.
Yeah.
So I get what you're saying. I do.
I just
And
thought of.
I think it's a good starting point. I do. I think
I
that's
just
good.
I thought it was very funny because I thought the other day. I'm
Love like dogs.
Love like dogs. You know what I'm saying? If that was in the Bible, that'd be funny. Love like dogs. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
I just thought of that because But anyways, what I meant by that is every single time you come home, your dog is excited to see you, and as opposed to humans and/or, well, yeah, I guess I'm talking about people in general. Sometimes when you come home, either you got a spouse or a family member, and they're not happy to see you.
Yeah.
And I feel like the difference with dogs, and I'm not saying they're not smart, but like I don't think that they have the depth, obviously, to which we can think. So they're not like, oh, maybe this is the last time I'll see my owner come home.
Mm-hmm.
Like he might not be gone. Like he might never come home again after he leaves and he shuts the door tomorrow. Like obviously that's not what goes through their brains.
Yeah.
So I'm saying though, like if we were to think like that, like every single day is like a blessing, so to speak, that'd be kind of cool.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's not possible. It definitely is. But I just thought of that quote, and I thought it was funny, and I kind of laughed at it. And I was like, yeah, that's real stupid. And I told you about it.
I don't think it's stupid.
Well, no, it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's just very, like, some
So,
5-year-old
Well,
would
here's
come
the
up
thing, right? A dog is never gonna be like, I don't feel like loving you, but I'm gonna do it
with.
anyway.
Yeah.
It's more like with us, it's like I don't.
Bench sucks.
Yeah.
I don't know who
thing
made it,
is-
but they need to
the
go back to
thing is-
welding school.
The thing is.
Yeah.
Right. It's like in marriage, right?
Yep.
If you ask anyone who's been married for a while, do you like? They'll tell you how hard it is.
Yeah, it
It's
sucks.
not. Well, it's not that
Well,
it
doesn't
sucks.
suck. It just takes a lot of work.
It is. It's a work. It takes effort. Like those
Mhm.
butterflies that you have in the beginning, they are gone. And it goes from like, oh, you got like a piece of broccoli in your teeth. Oh, it's so cute. And then it's like, I
Like,
hate
you look
you
stupid.
so much.
Yeah.
Go and die.
Yeah, pretty
if
much.
You're breathing wrong. Can you stop breathing?
Yeah.
Can you go stand over there so I don't have to see your stupid face?
Oh yeah.
So it changes, and I think that it's because people just
People change not for. Yeah.
I think it's just people don't have or they don't realize what marriage actually takes,
Yeah.
and most people probably don't. But
Yeah.
it's a promise. Love is a promise,
Mhm.
and if you can't keep the promise, you shouldn't make it.
Yeah.
And I think that's why a lot of people end up hurt.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that
Mhm.
they don't understand the binds that they end up making with people,
Yeah.
and they flippantly just sort of
Mm-hmm.
throw them away. And it's like, yeah, it just didn't suit me. It's like, oh.
Yeah, that's not that's.
And
dumb.
what does that say about people in general then? If they think so little about things like that.
About what? Like love?
Yeah.
What does that say about people?
Yeah.
You need Jesus. That's what I think.
Well, I think that shows that how little they must value others and how little they must value themselves.
Yeah.
Um,
Segue. You need Jesus.
yeah. Well, I think it would be nice to you start at the base level, right? You start with yourself. It's like, okay,
yeah.
how do I see myself? Do I actually care about myself? Like,
Mhm.
actually? Or
Yeah,
do I
yeah.
hate myself
Yeah, yeah.
secretly? But I
Yeah.
just, because we play an elaborate game of hide the ball from ourselves. Like,
Oh, yeah.
I don't actually do
It's
that.
my
I'm
favorite.
not like that. I'm not, I don't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you're honest, you're like, I actually do.
Yeah, I do that, and I need to fix it.
Well, it's not only that I do it, but I do it because of this, this, and this. And I do it
Yeah.
because when I do this thing, it makes me feel better about myself, and it helps me hide the fact that I actually hate myself, or I actually, I'm afraid of this or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I think a lot of things, I think they all end up drawing back to love and what that means to you.
I agree. Very well said.
Yeah. But dreams. Bringing it full circle.
And thank you for watching. That was the best. Yeah, that was real good.
What is this? You know who I saw the other day that I love? Freaking that little cockroach dude from the Muppets. He's like, I think he's French or something. He's like,
you mean the French chef, the angry chef?
no, he's from the Muppets. He's like,
He's a cockroach.
Pepe. His name is Pepe.
He's a cockroach.
Yes. He's
I
got.
don't
He's like.
remember
He's like.
that.
He's like. Oh, what does he say?
God.
He says the most insane things. He's like, oh, hello. I showed you that video, right? It was like.
I don't think so.
I'll show you after.
Yeah.
Pepe from the Muppets is hilarious. Go watch him.
Go watch
He
him.
brightens my life because he is just so insane.
Yeah, you need a little insane cockroach every once in a while.
Yeah, that's the name of the band.
Insane cockroach every once in a while? That's a mouthful, man. I don't know about that. I kind of like Midnight Tinkle a little bit more.
Midnight Tinkle.
Midnight Tinkle.
Have a Midnight Tinkle.
Midnight Tinkle. Anyways, yeah.
Later.
Well, that was real fast. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe and like and comment and click that bell for notifications so you don't miss an upload. And, yeah, thanks for watching. And see you next time. Later on the Minjays.